Okay, welcome to this week's lab. This is the virtual lab that's going to be investigating Ohm's law, and it will also be investigating the series and parallel circuits. So what we're going to do, you're going to do one laboratory report for all of these items. And the submission is associated with the Ohm's law laboratory. So what you're going to do first of all is you click on the Ohm's law. You're going to use two different simulations for this. You're going to use the Ohm's law simulation and you're going to use the DC construction kit. So that's one of the things that's going to happen. There's one other added thing that I would like for you to do is I would like for you to include as part of your laboratory this picture with what you determine the different resistors are going to be. So if you click on the resistors picture, you will see a series of resistors. Here's our picture, and you'll see that these have different color codes, and read them to the best of your ability. And what I would like for you to do is I would like you to take this picture, give them a number, and tell me what you read the individual color bars are. So that's what you'll end up doing. Then you can use this color bar calculator here, and you can click on that. You can input your color bars and determine what the resistance is for that particular resistor. And so it's just giving you a little bit of experience on how to read resistors. So that's one of those things that you want to look at. And if you were in the physical laboratory, we would be doing those, and then we would actually measure the resistance. So let's look at the Ohm's law lab first. So remember, when we click on this, you've got plenty of time to add in your labs. You must start the attempt, which will give you information about the lab. And this is just giving you information about the Ohm's law part. And I thought I had changed this up. In your new one, you will see the new ones that have the links, but here is the laboratory report that's there. So that will be corrected for you. And then you'll follow this written laboratory, and you'll put it in your laboratory memo. The other lab that you're going to do is the series and parallel circuits lab. And you will come in and you will open it up. And you're going to set up circuits that are in series and circuits that are in parallel. And you're going to include these tables in your laboratory report. So just to give you an idea as to how to do this, what we're going to do first is we'll go to the Ohm's law lab simulation so that you can click in. You'll actually see this particular simulation in there. And you can see how, as you adjust the voltage and the voltage, you'll see the change in the current as you see the resistance. I would like to see a plot of voltage versus resistance, or voltage versus current. So you want a plot of voltage versus current because your resistance is going to be the slope of that line, and you need to do it for two different resistors. And I'll give you a better place to do that part. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to our lab and let's go to our DC circuits lab. So here's your DC circuits lab. And so let's look at the Ohm's law lab part first. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a circuit. So we need a power source. That's my battery. We're going to go ahead and put a switch in so that we can follow along as it is a circuit. We're going to add in a resistor. And one of the things that if we were doing this with any kind of recording device, our ammeter needs to be in the circuit. When we measure current, our ammeter needs to be in the circuit. So we need to add our wires. So let's add our wires. So we get our wires in here. So we're building a circuit. And this is a circuit for Ohm's law, very similar to what you guys just saw in the Ohm's law laboratory. And when I can click on my battery, and I can see that it's a 9-volt battery, and I can change that voltage. I can click on my resistor and I can change that resistor. So now I'm going to gather my data just as if I were in the lab. I'm going to gather my data. I'm going to close the circuit, and now we've got my current flowing. And so for my 5 volts or my 9 volts and my 10 ohm circuit, I'm reading 0.9 amps. So as I change the voltage, and that's what you'll want to do, is you'll want to change the voltage. So you're going to want to create a voltage versus current table, because you're going to want to do that voltage current graph, and the slope of that line is going to be your resistance, and we happen to know that it's 10. So as I get that data, I'm going to get a nice straight line, and I'm going to see that it's 10. So I'd like for you to do this for 2 different resistors and use at least 5 different voltages so that you can get a nice voltage versus current plot. All right, so that's the first part of the lab. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the other circuit. So I'm going to open my circuit here. I'm going to get rid of my ammeter. So I'm going to do that. And I am now going to put in, go ahead and get rid of this wire. So let's get rid of that wire. And we're going to put a series of resistors in series. So I've got a resistor there, and then I've got a resistor here. And so now my resistors are in series, and if I'm in series, it's going to be very much like a daisy chain. So there we go, there's a daisy chain. And I'm going to put in my voltmeter here so I can actually do some measurings of the voltage across the different aspects. And so now if I close my current, I can measure the voltage. I've got a 9-volt battery here, and now I can see how my circuit behaves. I can go ahead and put my ammeter back in, so I can click on this, and I can see how things are going to change with a series versus a, so we'll go ahead and put that in. We'll add my wire. And now my current is going to behave like the equivalent resistance of these 3 resistors in series. You're going to do something similar, so we're going to go ahead and take these, we're going to take this out here, so we'll delete that. We'll put that in here. We're going to put my ammeter back in, and now we're going to do it for a parallel circuit. Now for parallel circuits, let's go ahead and get rid of my switch. For parallel circuits, what's going to happen is your circuits are going to look like, your resistors are going to look like they're in a ladder. So we'll go there. So here's my resistor. And now I've got another resistor. So we're going to go ahead and turn it around. I'm going to put my wire here. We're going to put my wire right in here, so it's going to look very much like my circuit. I'm going to put my wire here, and now you're going to see that these resistors are in what we call parallel, so it looks very much like a little ladder. And I'm going to create my wire, so that comes through here. And so now you can see that this is in parallel, and I can actually have my circuit look a little bit different, and you can play with the voltage meter as you go through, and you can see what you're looking at. If I do my voltage here, and this will be very helpful for when you're dealing with Kirchhoff laws problems. So now you can actually look at the voltage across each one of these particular ones, and you see that the voltage across each one is the same in a parallel circuit. So that is a parallel circuit. So you can play with these items as you go through. So remember, what you're going to do is you're going to write one laboratory report. Part of it will include the Ohm's Law lab. Part of it will include the series and parallel circuits lab. And then you're going to include that picture with those individual resistors.